Hey there, this is Wythe Marshall from the Stillfleet Studio. We put together a little podcast called Why We Roll, and now we're very proud to be part of the network Podderation. So if you're listening to one of Podderation's other great shows and you're interested in TTRPGs specifically, that's tabletop role-playing games, you might be interested in our show. Why We Roll is all about how you make TTRPGs, what makes them fun, different kinds of stories you can tell with TTRPGs, and even the business, so the practical advice side. So if any of that sounds appealing, whether you're a GM, you want to design your homebrew game, or you're interested in getting in the industry, why don't you head over to Why We Roll, check us out. We really, really appreciate it, and keep making awesome stuff.
Anonymous, the podcast where everyone's welcome to the table, but of course, as always, no one knows whose turn it is. This is Chris.
Hey, this is Anthony.
And this is episode 565, BGG 2026 Hall of Fame class. We like to thank all our Patreon backers for helping us unlock a brand new episode. Hello, friends. Welcome back. Hopefully you're staying warm and cheery out there, getting a lot of wonderful games to the table. Again, as always, each and every week, we are so glad that you were able to join us here this week as we talk about Board Game Geek's 2026 Hall of Fame class, Anthony.
Yes, yeah, we're talking about the games that got into the Hall of Fame. This is just a little over a week ago now as we're recording this. And it's an interesting mix. There's some controversy there.
It's because some of the games juiced, is what you're trying to say.
Right? Yeah. So they weren't going to get in on the initial vote, but they got in on the back end.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's 5 really interesting games. We're going to talk about, why we think we're there, what they bring to the Hall of Fame, whether they should be there. And a lot of that was not provided by Board Game Geek, so we're going to step in and do it for them.
There you go, buddy. Yeah, we covered last year's list or the previous year's list. And that was the big dump. Was it 25, if I remember correctly?
25 games in the initial class, yeah.
Yes. And that was a really big, extensive, broad list. These 5 that are here for the 2026 class are very interesting and very different. And as you said, there's a lot to say.
It is. It's like, because we did our list last year, which we did on episode 514, if you want to go listen to it. It was exactly a year ago.
Wow. We're good.
Right?
I tell you, we keep doing things. Bam, bam, bam.
So we asked all of you, what games should be on this list that aren't yet, right? And so we had a bunch of games that people wrote in about, things like Twilight Imperium, which still not on the list this year. I know. It'll happen eventually.
It's a game that's been juiced, right?
Right, it's been juiced. We have worker placement games. We have lots of other things that people wrote in about, Risk Legacy, and it's I think based on what people were calling for, we saw some and maybe not all of that stuff discussed this year in this class. So it's an interesting mix.
Yeah, I think it's really important to contextualize it for a lot of reasons. Obviously, BGG is the biggest, marketer of tabletop games, and everyone kind of looks to them as far as their purchases, their information, their education. They're just a tremendous website for all those kind of, value that people bring to tabletop gaming. So when they have a Hall of Fame, especially now that they're moving forward and they have 5 ongoing, games here, it's important to take a look at how and why, because again, it doesn't necessarily seem like all of these 5 games here are necessarily evaluated the same kind of way. I mean, some of them are different dates and radically different types of games. And again, we've talked about this a lot. Like, what makes a game great? What makes a game that should be on a list? is a filler game as valuable? Should a filler game be in the Hall of Fame? Should a legacy game be in the Hall of Fame? One and done kind of situation. So we'll have a lot to talk about for those 5. But Anthony, before we get into that, we wanted to talk about what's going on with the state of BGA, and then especially with the state of tabletop gaming generally. Last week, we had Will and Megan on, and we were obviously talking about a lot of the companies out there, the tabletop companies that we love and adore, and how so many of them more recently have had some financial, business, economic, even player community problems that have led to dismay, disillusion, dissolvement. I mean, again, depending on their particular challenge or problem. One of the companies that we did mention, and I think Anthony, you also mentioned there was a documentary about Fantasy Flight Games.
Yeah,
and that I watched that as well. Great little documentary. And Fantasy Flight, the company, and so many of the workers, especially back in the day, a little less now, obviously, as Asmodee has shrunk them, and they're kind of a shadow of their former Goliath self. But they're based in Minnesota, and honestly, beyond the sporting teams, the most things I knew about Minnesota coming from a tabletop perspective was it was one of the hubs, one of the largest tabletop gaming places in the United States. Very cold, ergo, a lot of people stay inside and play tabletop games.
Yes, yeah, that's the whole thing. Like right now, or recently, it has been negative blech in Minnesota.
That's a bad number.
It's real low. So it makes perfect sense. Like, what else are you gonna do? You're gonna play board games.
100%. So we wanted to talk about obviously Minnesota broadly, because again, first and foremost, we are here for the gamers. Yeah. And Minnesota is dealing with, again, there's so many ways to contextualize it and speak about it, but it's dealing with, I think we could say a general occupation by its own government, by the United States of America, is occupying Minnesota, and has large swaths of various federal agents, especially ICE in particular, that are harassing, arresting a lot of very innocent people, both American citizens and even immigrants, or legal immigrants as they're called, in that area. But generally, the vast majority, and their statistics from the government on this, like something like 85 to 90% of the people that have been arrested, no crimes, no issues, no problems. But again, that's been brought to their doorstep. That's been a level of harassment that, at least in the United States, in recent memory, that has not happened before. Now, this is a tremendous, terrible, gripping situation that even if you're not local to Minnesota, you know about it. Whether you're in the United States or you're around the world, obviously you've heard about it, and we really appreciate your support and your outreach to that community. There's so much that we want to say. Our heart breaks for all the people there, especially the 2 recent deaths by American citizens at the hands of these federal agents. And again, we would like to express our support to all the people in Minnesota, all the protesters, all the people that could really use our love and support here directly. A lot of times when we do the podcast, we don't want to get into a lot of these kind of bigger political, cultural, social issues, but this is a situation that has gone far beyond that. This is a really dangerous situation, life and death situation here in our country. And again, even still, we want to be a place for fun and tabletop gaming, and we want to move on to the stuff so that we give you a refuge for a time that you could talk about the thing that you love about most. And the same thing for us as well. But recently, one of the persons in our media sphere who has a lot of influence and is directly connected with the Dice Tower has come out multiple times, and more recently, about this particular situation. And his comments around the situation were blaming the victims for their deaths. And this was such a big proclamation and promotion through the Dice Tower network that there was repercussions that kind of came back to them, and there was pushback, and there was a lot of ongoing conversation and vitriol during Dice Tower's GameFound campaign to support their network. Now we know the Dice Tower. We used to be on the Dice Tower many years ago. We were a podcast on their podcast network. We were never like guests on their main show. We were never like active participants. We were just a podcast on their network. And many, many years ago, we used to submit segments to them when they asked for those segments. At this point, we feel compelled to have to say something about this, because if his voice is the only voice out there in tabletop gaming, and it's such a negative, problematic take, and it affects so many of our fellow gamers out there, and it looks and sounds and feels like this is how we feel as a population, as an industry, as a community of gamers, I mean, there's honestly no words. So we feel compelled to say the obvious, but I think it needs to be said, and I think it needs to be said everywhere, is that our hearts, our minds, our thoughts, and even our actions are going out to all the people there in Minnesota, around the country, and around the world from these devastating, fascist kind of problematic actions that are taking place. And we know in no way, shape, or form endorse them. We support players. We support gamers. We support people who open a space, provide a space for the stranger, for the newcomer, for the person that might be the outsider. Each and every week at the end of the episode, we talk about always leaving a space open at the table for you. So whomever you are, wherever your background is, wherever you come from, we welcome you to the podcast. We welcome you to our community. We welcome you to the table. And we really hope that each and every one of you who are listening right now does the same. If we could really inspire you to do anything, is to leave a space open for the strangers, someone who's different outside, someone that maybe people don't want there. But again, the outsider, the different person, we're meant to create a space for them. That's what tabletop gaming really is. Even if you're playing a competitive game, you have to agree upon rules. You have to cooperate together. So that collaboration, that cooperation is at the core of what tabletop gaming is about. And having people at the table, as many people, and especially a diverse group of people, is enriching for everybody there. So on behalf of BGA, myself, Anthony, and we hope sincerely all of you, please make a space in your heart. Please make a space for your table for those people that are less fortunate, that have been repressed, that have been picked out, that have felt anonymous, as we all have had at some point or the other, so that together as a community, we can be a force for good. Thank you, everybody. All right, with that said, let's get on to the episode. All right, Anthony, let's talk about the games that we want to get to the table. Let's roll for preview.
Rolling for preview. Here we go. All right, so there's been a whole bunch of stuff announced recently for GameFound, which, you know, that this is the new thing. We take an old game, we bring it back, we upgrade it, get new art, we make it really, really expensive. And this is one of those. There's a few that caught my eye because it's one of my favorite games. It's one of both of our favorite games. We have Marco Polo, the Deluxe Master Set, coming from Board and Dice sometime in 2026. The campaign is launching. And we don't know too terribly much about this yet. They posted a little bit. But what we do know, what's important here, is we get Voyage of the Marco Polo. We get the Agents of Venice expansion, which is pretty hard to find right now. All the promos that have been published, some of which are kind of hard to find right now. And Marco Polo 2 in the Service of the Con. All of that kind of mushed together, which is a completely separate game, not an expansion at all. You play it standalone. It's like same theme, similar mechanics, different playthrough. They say, Bryn,
it has a lot to do more with travel, right? Travel mechanic is emphasized.
It's emphasized and it's a lot easier to do. Yeah. So like Marco Polo, like famously, you look at the map, you're like, how am I supposed to get to all these locations? Well, you're probably not. That's how. So Marco Polo 2, go for it. Run around the map. So it says brand new extra content. We don't know what yet. Woo. Dedicated solo modes, something that the game has not had. There's fan solo modes, but there is no dedicated solo mode for Marco Polo. And then 5th player.
What? Oh no!
Whoa!
The bane of Anthony's existence.
Yeah, okay, so listen. if everybody knows how to play Marco Polo and they take their actions quickly, it should take less than 2 hours.
Sure.
If even one person is like, let me think, it takes like 4.5 hours.
Well, that's true with any game.
No, but this one in particular, because you have 5 dice over 5 rounds, every single one of those actions, you're like, let me see, and then, but maybe not. Like, there's something about it. There's something about the spread of options. I don't want a 5th player at the table. I just don't.
Wasn't there a 5th player with the expansion?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which I've never used, so I don't know for sure, but it sounds like something they did.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can ignore that part, but it comes in the box, so you have it. New artwork, which we were talking about this before the show. Meh.
It's a lateral move.
It's a lateral move. They have examples on here of like what the new art looks like. I don't think the old art was bad.
It's not bad.
No. They obviously have to do something new if they're publishing a whole new thing, but I don't think the old artwork is bad at all. Like, sometimes you get these older Euros and the artwork's like not good.
Yeah.
So I get it. But it wasn't particularly derpy. It's pretty solid.
I would even go a little bit even further. I would say the new art, again, because I guess the way in which I kind of envision it is more like old kind of like very classic with, all the line work here with the robes and things like that. The new one is also fine, but it seems a little too clean.
It's super clean. It's very flat. I don't know. I don't even know how to categorize it. It's fine. It just looks like every other Euro that's coming out right now. So, like, let's take the aesthetic from 2013 or 2014, which was, hey, these look like every other Euro coming out right now, and just do the same thing in 2026. So,
I mean, the new art, it does look like Santa Claus has a
I know,
a falcon on his hand. So
yeah, Con Argoon is a little Santa Clausy.
It's a little Santa Clausy. So I'm not hating it. It's not
no,
tasty minstrel game artwork.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah,
that was a bad one with their Coliseum, but it is still a little bit weird. I guess you have to do something, but I feel like if you're going to make the game deluxe or charge deluxe prices, I would have loved to have some fine art or even some historical art from the period, because again, these people were historical figures.
Yeah,
so I'm assuming there's historical art somewhere.
I would imagine. Yeah. Like there's world leaders in here.
And just like as a general rule, just stuff in life is, at least the one I try to abide by, like either do it better than it's been done or do it different.
Yeah.
When you do it the kind of the same, it's just kind of like, it's not offensive, but it's also not bad.
Yeah. Well, it's just, you get in that position of like, it's like the Ultimate Railroads. You're like, I guess I'll get it because I can't find the other content, but it's not really giving me any reason to get it other than that. And the fact I can only get this one random expansion in this box. That's the vibe I'm getting from this, is it's going to be like Ultimate Railroads, but Marco Polo.
You know what the really funny thing here, Anthony, is? We talked about this being reprinted forever.
Yeah.
And primarily there was one thing that in the reprint that we really felt they needed to do. Anthony, what is that one thing that is not noted here that they absolutely needed to do in a reprint?
We need a clearer sense of the size differential between those pieces. Little camel, big camel, they're the same camel.
There you go, buddy. The camel problem. Yes,
the camel problem.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, how do I end up with so many camels? Like, I don't know.
You have like 32 camels. Like, no, it's only 6. Like, those are 5s. What are you doing?
Oh, no. They multiplied when I wasn't looking.
It got bigger.
It really is a problem. They're not very distinctively different.
No. I played a friend's copy of this game a few years ago, and they had like little stickers they'd put on the big ones.
Oh,
so I'm
that's
like,
funny.
Oh, that's smart. Why haven't I done that?
That's great.
But yeah, I hope they fix the camel problem. I would love to have a new camel problem.
That's all we wanted. That's what should be on this campaign page.
I know.
I would have bought it just for the camel difference.
I'm sure they've thought of the camels.
Imagine they don't. Imagine that's crazy. Not a
it's
thing.
The same. They're like, no, this is the one thing we kept the same from the original game. The exact same camel people.
If it happens, I'm gonna laugh. Just saying,
that would be pretty funny.
That'd be funny.
They're like, we're reprinting all this out of print stuff, and we're bringing back all these obscure promos. Also, camels are the same.
Camels are the same. We know you love the camels, folks.
Yeah. Woo!
I wonder if they're going to do plastic.
Oh, don't do plastic.
I would hate it, but I wonder if they would do plastic.
It's board and dice. They don't do plastic.
I mean, it's a deluxe version on Game Found. Have you met Game Found?
I know, but like, you know, the last couple deluxe versions they've done, Teotihuacan, City of Gods, La Granja, it's all wood.
All right.
I mean, hey,
if I end up with plastic camels, man, I'm just telling you right now.
I don't want. I was like,
I guess a little Marco Polo on the camel, just going down.
Oh no, not just plastic camels. We got minis on the board.
That's right.
Oh, that's what we know right now. I have followed it. I will talk about it more once they release information.
Please don't change the camels so you could blow up Anthony's brain. I think that'd be fantastic. Or plastic. How about those standees? That would be worse. Standees are bad.
Yeah. This is one of those situations that where like I have all the original stuff. I have Marco Polo with the expansion. I have Marco Polo 2. I have all the promos. I don't really have a reason to get this, except they're gonna do some nonsense like Ultimate Railroads, and they're like, and a new expansion, and then I'm gonna think, do I want to spend $150 for that one expansion? Yeah. And then I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna be really annoying.
Aww.
And then I'm gonna have a giant box that I can't take anywhere because that's what this is gonna be as well. So, what I'm saying is, please, Board and Dice, make the new content look bad, and then I don't have to buy this.
There you go. See,
yeah,
there's a rainbow lining there.
Hey, one can hope.
Camels are gonna be better. You'll have to buy it. You'd be like, damn
it! they nailed the camels.
I had to buy it, Chris. I had to buy it. Sorry. Yeah. Watch the camels be an add-on.
Like, right? Yeah. Now it'll be like it comes with the regular camels, but if you want the upgraded camels, separate from the metal coins, which are separate from the little,
it's gonna have metal coins, people. Right? It's
gonna 100%. Yeah. And probably chunkier dice. These are really light dice.
Yeah, they
remember the Marco Polo dice?
They're wood. They're like balsa wood.
They're wood, but they're soft wood. Like you roll those things, they bounce off the table.
They float. They float off the table.
Little tiny dice.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a couple of other ones here that we just want to mention briefly. The first one that obviously popped up for me here was the Seven Wonders Deluxe series. This is also another Game Found campaign. It's in currently preview state. Remember, Game Found always previews everything so far in advance that like you think it's happening, and then you think it's happening every other day, and then when it finally happens, you miss it. And you're like, "How did that happen?" Because it's the Game Found campaign that cried wolf. Like it's coming out, it's coming out, it's coming out. Oh, you missed it.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of those right now. It's ridiculous. Like
100%. Because again, eventually you just shut the emails off. At least I do. I'm just like, I can't. Keep looking at it because you added one line of text as a new information.
This week's update. Here's what this card looks like.
Just like, the days. Well, I love Seven Wonders. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's always been in my top 100, really high up there. It's a great civilization game. Plays a lot of players. Does a lot of things right. The first edition, fantastic. The second edition, surprisingly, despite the fact that I was so all in on the first edition, I picked up the second edition because it does clarify, rebalance, and it's actually a lot better. I hate to say it. I really do. But second edition of Seven Wonders is better. They obviously have also came out with the expansions, which are also slightly better. So thank you for allowing me to buy the game twice. I definitely wanted to do that. So I own 2 copies of the game. The first edition copy that has like the wood insert and the metal coins, both which I had to buy separately and sleeve everything at the promos. And then like, second edition's better. Great. Okay. So the thing I've never asked for is a big box edition or a deluxe edition of Seven Wonders. What's really weird about this and different about this is obviously, first and foremost, they want to sell you a giant box. Now, I know this is not weird and different because everyone has done this at this point. Like, this is a thing now where they sell you like a $50 cardboard box and like, yay. Although we know the downside of giant boxes is trying to actually get that to game night. So this has a very fancy box from Game Genic And basically, you can buy this in kind of two different versions. One is it comes with the second edition of Seven Wonders in this really nice black and gold trimmed box that holds all the things. But again, in this case, at least how they state it, it's going to allow you to take out the inserts so that the inserts are usable in the actual game itself. So like everything's still stacked in there. And that's smart, right? Because how many times do you buy an insert where like you can't put it on the table to be played with?
Yeah.
So that's great. It's not tremendously unusual as far as that's concerned. And obviously there's a lot of questions here about sleeve cards and if that will actually work out together. So basically you have this flip top box and you can get it with the base game of Seven Wonders, and or you could get the Seven Wonders Deluxe Edition, which has the 4 expansions plus the deluxe box plus the original game. So I think I might, I'm not sure if I have all the expansions to the new Seven Wonders. I definitely have Seven Wonders, and I'm looking at leaders right here, but I can't see what I have behind it. So this campaign will come out in Q2. Anthony, Q2 for the audience out there is
April to June.
There you go. So if you like Gamegenic, this might be down your trail. You know, obviously, if you love Seven Wonders, I don't know if I'll back this. I think, like Anthony said, I have to see something significant here because honestly, as much as we have monkey pawed having everything in one box ourselves into a corner, I don't necessarily need to have everything in one box.
I'm telling you, man, if you get this, you're never taking it out of the house again.
I know.
So, and then people have to come to you to play Seven Wonders.
And nobody really wants to do that. I mean, if it's a new game, yeah. But if it's a game that's been out forever at this point, I don't think a fancy box is necessarily bringing them over.
Yeah.
And I don't
know. Come to my house and play this game that's been out for 10 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I love Seven Wonders. It's fantastic. I'm glad they did this. I wish they would have done this 10 years ago. You know, I wish they would have done this when they came out with the second edition, because then I would be on board for this. But the second edition game and its expansions have already come out. So I don't know what they could do with this campaign other than the box. And the box is not enough for me. So, you know, show me what you got, Seven Wonders. I guess that's pretty much the thing.
You can do it. Bring it on.
All right, I think that leads up to a roll for review. We'll let people know if those games are a buy and they should run out and pick those games up. If those games are a play, they should sit down and enjoy them. If those games are a dodge and they should avoid them, or in fact, the games are the dread burn, and just like Ponzi schemes, they do not deserve to exist. My friend, I got to play a game.
Woo.
It's called Aquaria. Are you intrigued? Did that do it? Is it over? Is the review over? The review is over, right?
That's it.
Enough. That was enough.
Right.
Aquaria. Yeah. I'll do it again. Okay. Aquaria. See, I covered it 3 times this episode.
You did it, man. Let's log off. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. No, don't leave it. So, Anthony, one of your most favorite games that recently came out, SETI.
Yes. Brilliant.
Do you know the man, the legend who created that game?
I do. Thomas Holik.
Yes. What if I told you he made a game about aquariums?
What? Okay.
Home aquariums.
Oh, well, naturally. Of course.
Because, you know, when the last game was about seeking out intelligent, I don't know, life out there in the universe.
Yeah, you know, we have the search for extraterrestrial life. We have his second game about Galileo.
Yeah,
so why not jump to the aquarium in your living room?
And it's and the artwork, at least on the cover, has a really old school kind of throwback to like the 50s, 60s.
Right.
And it's kind of weird. It's quaint. When we saw this, I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is a really interesting take on it. So the artwork there is going to be reflected in the game because it's going to have some really cute, like interesting dynamics and like really quirky kind of play to it. The game itself, my friend, is gears. You're turning a lot of gears.
Nice.
Now, the artwork on the cover has almost nothing to do with the rest of the game.
Right. This looks like photos.
Yeah. So let me dissuade you from the kitschy artwork from the cover, right? And get you into the components of the game. So this game and I don't know when I should say this, but this game has very little to do, or thematically, I should say, very thematically, very little to do with home aquarium. The game itself looks like some sort of like industrial plant where you're turning dials to crank out machine parts, and very little to do with the actual aquarium itself. So the graphic design here and the artwork are very interesting in that they're so disconnected from what you would think about from a home aquarium. As I had a home aquarium. I don't know, Anthony, did you ever have a home aquarium?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So there is some interesting game mechanics here. There's these 5 little dials where you'll be able to do some worker placement, and based upon where you place your worker, you'll gain a benefit, and for your aquarium, of course. And if you pay extra pearls, you can actually take a more powerful version of it, and those little dials will move as people take actions, and they'll get less and less powerful. So there's a race to get to the certain dials sooner than later, because there's an extra bonus action that you'll be able to get. Then there's an encyclopedia board. Now, thematically, that doesn't make a lot of sense necessarily for a family to run their home aquarium, but they needed another board, I guess. So this board has the victory point track, the oxygen track, and it has this really interesting, odd kind of, I guess, coral reef kind of shape to it. And again, if you look at the pictures, you would never think that any of these boards have anything to do with an aquarium. Now, the actual aquarium board does have that little water and a couple little pieces on the bottom, but also, again, it has dials. It has spots for different game parts. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to try to do as many of the different elements and aspects of the game as possible, because this is a very much a point salady type of game. Now, primarily, you would think that this is all going to be about putting your fish in the tank and then scoring points because they're adorable. The fish cards are there, and you do place them in the tank. And again, you have choices where you're going to place them. But the game is so heavily mechanical and point driven, and so devoid of thematic information and flow, that oftentimes you'll put your fish out in the tank thinking that, like, oh, it'll score me these points, not recognizing that there is a lot of other points that will be scored based upon end game points, to the point of you're going to feel stupid you put your fish there. And in fact, like, for example, the lionfish scores a lot of points. You would not know that from the game itself, right? It's just not something that the game kind of informs you necessarily. The cards have their requirements to be put in the tank as far as oxygen's concerned. They have what their food requirements are as far as victory points concerned. It has special ability on it. But there's also set collections. There's also where the fish are in the particular point on the tank. So there's a lot of more mechanical elements that are not thematically like, oh, I wouldn't want to put these fish on the bottom because they're bottom feeders, or I would want to put these special fish here because they're really beautiful or they're really exotic. Let's not go into the fact about whether they're saltwater fish or freshwater fish. They're kind of mixed in the tank, which, again, don't ever do that at home, my friends, because you'll kill your fish if you do that.
Yeah.
So this game mechanically could have been a very great game because the dial action is kind of fun. The graphic design has so much symbology that I think the first time I played it, I was kind of rebuffed. I was kind of pushed away from it. I had to constantly keep looking at the rule book. Eventually, on your second/third time playing it, it kind of makes sense. But again, it doesn't flow. It doesn't look like you're putting together an aquarium. And it has a lot to do. It has a lot of AP because, again, since when people move, the dials then move for their bonuses. So you have to take into consideration how the other players are going to take their actions. And again, because there's so many victory point options in the game and not a dedicated path to victory, more or less, then somebody might take something just because it's going to score points instead of like it benefits, like putting a fish out. So therefore, you really have to rethink what you want to do, because now the board state has changed as far as bonuses are concerned. So from an artistic graphic design level, this seems like a very pasted on theme, and I think a terribly unfortunate pasted on theme, because it doesn't really match with the mechanics of the game of all these different dials that come into place and turn. I really wish they would have had a different theme that was more thematically informative and directive than the kind of fish theme aquarium here. It was not a very enjoyable play. It was kind of a grueling kind of. It was just not fun at the end of the day. Some of the mechanics are very good. I would love to see these mechanics in a different game. I think thematically a complete miss. I would like to see these dials put somewhere else. And I would like to see the graphic design to be a little bit more streamlined. Again, if you're going to play this game, look out for the lionfish. They're super credibly powerful. Who knew? Obviously, take a look at the final scorings, because that's going to matter more than the scorings during the game itself. And you're going to feel that towards the end of the game, where you're like, oh, I could have scored this, but therefore this, that, and the other. And then the AP is kind of problematic. So I'm really sorry to say, but for Aquaria here, and from the great designer himself, I'm going to give it a dodge. I just don't think that it comes together as a game. And I think if he could pull these mechanics out and put it in something else, I think it would be much better served. But I think it's almost forcing a square peg into a round hole, and it just doesn't work.
That's unfortunate. Yeah. I not the exact same problems, but I had a similar vibe with Galileo of just like, there's a lot of cool ideas here, and I can see how they could be related to the theme. Like, obviously the telescope bits, but just like, where is this going? It didn't feel complete. Not in the way, like with SETI being one of the first games out, it almost feels like when somebody like releases their debut album,
sure,
or a novel, and it's like they've been working on it for 10 to 15 years, and it's brilliant, and then they're like, all right, I gotta knock out another one, and then they'll knock out another one like a year or two later, and you're like, what is this? It's not necessarily terrible, but it's like a letdown. And that to me, it sounds like that's what this is for you, and Galileo was kind of the same for me. So I don't know, maybe just a little more time to cook on the next game for Holic.
Yeah, I think that the original production here comes from Delicious Games. We got our review copy from Capstone Games here. And again, I really appreciate his design work. But I think that's really on the point, Anthony. I think SETI is such a profound. I can imagine how much thought went into that game,
right?
Because there's so many moving parts in that game, and I think the brilliance of that game is there's so many moving parts, but never did I feel frustrated or suffered from so much AP that I didn't want to play the game.
Right?
Like, you play the game and it takes a long time to play SETI, but you don't feel bad about it, or you don't feel like, oh, the solar system has moved, therefore I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm playing this game, and I'm just like, oh, the dials have changed. The card's not there. Do I have to still play this? Like, again. And I just think that there was a miscommunication thematically, and I think that there's some good ideas here. I don't think it comes together as a full game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our review. Let's get on to our feature review. Again, Anthony, as always, we're talking for the voice of the gamers, and this week we are jumping back into the Hall of Fame class, but this time it's for BGG, and they have given us 5 that are going into the Hall of Fame. I don't know where they go. Do they actually go somewhere, Anthony? Like,
there's a page somewhere. It's like a geek list.
Yeah. I have the geek list, but like, that doesn't seem like enough of a place to put like the Hall of Fame games for BGG. Like, shouldn't they?
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
It's like another geek list. I mean, like, that's the whole BGG is a bunch of geek lists. Like, it's 1,000 geek lists, coming together.
Yeah, and it kind of fell off the homepage as soon as they finished that week. So, like, you can't actually find it unless you Google it. So it's a weird decision, but sure.
Yeah, I think it should, like, maybe the frame around the game image, like when you go to the page, should be golden or something, or just some sort of notification and like recognition that this is a Hall of Fame game instead of like this is just another geek list. I mean, it's coming from BGG, so it should it should stand out a little bit more.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I like that idea.
Well, that said, Anthony, why don't you run us through our I guess Hall of Fame winners here?
Yeah. We're going to talk about 5 games that were chosen for the 2026 Hall of Fame class on Board Game Geek. The first one up, and we'll just do these in the order that they were announced because they made a big thing of it. No, it's cool. It's cool. Like every day you log in, there's another one there. So the first one up is For Sale. Stefan Dora's 1997 auction and bidding game. This is I think I mentioned something because we might have been recording that day, and I was just like, "Oh, For Sale is the first one." And they're like, "Perfect. That's a perfect game." Right? Like it's small box, it's accessible, it's easy to play, it's quick to teach, and it's just such a clever implementation of auction mechanics that it's always fun. I think someone pulls it out, I'm like, oh, okay, something light, and then always have a blast playing it.
Yeah, I was surprised that this actually made it up here. It's again it's on my top 100, one of my favorite games of all time. I love this game. I think I brought this out to one of the most recent game conventions we had. We played it there because again, it's quick, it's easy, it's smart, it's dynamic, it's a small box, pretty much a large deck of cards that come into play, and the artwork is kind of fun. Like again, like this idea of like, what houses you're going to buy, what, living locations, even a space station on top of everything else. So, but again, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that it's here because is it a big enough game to reach Hall of Fame, even if it's a tiny, small filler game?
Yeah. I mean, it's you think Hall of Fame, you do think like these bigger boxes,
Yes.
and like last year it was a lot of that. We had Concordia and Terra Mystica and Castles of Burgundy, and on the lighter end we had some gateway type games like Seven Wonders or Dominion, but there weren't as many of like the small things.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling back through to see if they had any smaller box games. Like Catan? I don't know.
Yeah.
like it's generally, it was very much on the heavier end of stuff or bigger box end. Nothing on this end. And so when For Sale popped up, I was like, oh, cool. We are going to do those too. It's not just, the ticket to ride size boxes or the Euros, big Euros. It's fun, quick, lighter stuff, which I think is perfect.
Yeah, I can't complain. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just surprised by that. Stefan Dora did a great job with the game. I know it had a reprint where it's like a little different. It was more about purchasing cars, but I think the original For Sale still works very well. 1997, so it's been around for a little bit. But if they're going to take smaller games, then this certainly deserves to be among them.
Yeah. I'm all for it. Picking this one. All right, next one on the list. A little bit of controversy popped in here, and we can delve into it. Puerto Rico.
I've heard of this game.
There was a lot of conversation last year that Puerto Rico was not in the initial class. It had been the number one game on Board Game Geek back in the day, a while ago, for several years, right? Highly rated game across the board, out of print for a long time due to significant thematic issues in the game, and recently brought back with a big box version coming from Awaken Realms via GameFound here soon. So the game itself, if we're just looking at mechanics, it does a lot of things, right?
It does do a lot of things. It does, in fact, it does mechanically so many things well that it's not only become just like a great game in and of itself, but so many other games have benefited from its mechanics. Obviously, there's San Juan, which is its own kind of card game, but that kind of choose an action and then everyone takes that action and then other people get a lesser version of that has been used in so many other games.
Yeah. It's such a common Euro trope now, and it really did, bring together a lot of different ideas and mechanics way back in 2002. So from a purely mechanical standpoint, I can see why some people are like, why isn't this in the Hall of Fame? And now it is, of course.
Yeah.
On the flip side, and we've discussed this at length over the years, there are significant thematic issues with this game, right? This is a game set in Puerto Rico and a time of slavery, where the colonial Spanish government has enslaved people to run these various businesses and produce these goods. The game doesn't really address that, and in fact, the discs, the people, the workers are represented by brown discs that you place on the board, and it's abstracted to the nth degree, where if you're not thinking about it, you're not thinking about it. But when you do start thinking about it, you're like, this is problematic, right? For a lot of reasons. Now, the game has been re-released as Puerto Rico 1897, which fast forwards into a time of economic and structural independence, where slavery has ended, and so the workers are now, self-realized people and free. However, it doesn't, even the entry here doesn't really reference that, right? Sure. Like, it mentions that the game had been reset, and it mentions that they're, kind of, it's like one little sentence at the end. But the game itself, the original game, still uses that theme, still lives in that space, still creates that question mark. And so I guess the comment question from our end is, should a game like this be in the Hall of Fame? It can't undo its theme. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And it is still, like, from a mechanical perspective, is doing all those amazing things that we've seen in so many different games over the years. But should this spot be reserved for something else, right? Like, how do you handle that?
I've talked about this before, again, without going into extensive amount of detail here. As somebody of Puerto Rican descent, as I am, mixed race, also Italian. How you doing? I remember getting involved in like the tabletop game industry and being very excited that there was a game called Puerto Rico, and there was a game about Puerto Rico, because as a Puerto Rican, there is very little acknowledgement and acknowledgement in the world about us. We're American citizens. We all been and such and so forth. And you can even see now, even with the Bad Bunny, halftime Super Bowl show, they're like, he's not American. It's like, actually, he is in fact American. Puerto Rico is an American territory. Like, they're all American, just like so many of the other American territories. So I remember playing it and was like, hey, okay, cool, Euro. And again, just getting into tabletop gaming, especially on the Euro side of it, and just going, oh, cubes, discs, things like this, that, and you're like, okay, weird. I don't know. I didn't read the rule book. It wasn't my copy of the game. A little dark in the place. I'm just like, okay. And then as you start to think about it, hopefully you do think about it, you start to realize, as you said, Anthony, that this is not just depicting, but this is asking you to re-engage in the slave trade. Puerto Ricans are enslaved. People of African descent are enslaved. They're coming over on colony ships. They're being put to work in the fields for these colonial buildings to make money. So it is easy, certainly, to overlook, as far as a very mechanical standpoint, that this is a brilliant design. But from a thematic standpoint, and from what you're asking the player to do, which is to engage in slavery in this game, that has long-lasting, problematic challenges that reflect on society even to today. Now, again, it's a game, so it could have been put in a historical context, and BGG could have said, hey, this, that, and the other, these are the reasons why this is a thing. We want people to be well aware and known that, like, hey, you're playing a game that's actually all about enslaving people to work in fields, at slave, being slaves and such and so forth. And maybe that's not a thing that we celebrate. Maybe that's not a thing on it. We recognize it. We now recognize that we have more clarity, we have more distance, we have conversations. We recognize it. So for it to get into the Hall of Fame is really challenging and problematic, because again, the game itself, because of the mechanics in that particular context, does continue to support a colonization mindset that is happening in a lot of other places around the world.
Yeah, and it's like, if you read the description here, the Board Game Geek's description, it says, while the gameplay of this Andreas Seaforth design is rich and challenging, the setting is unpleasant, with players drafting enslaved laborers from a constant flow of arriving ships to occupy plantations and buildings. And so, so on and so forth. They release 1897 later. So they're recognizing that as a challenge, and then just being like, "But the game is good, right?" That's and I don't know. It's.
I think again there's a lot to say. We've said it over a lot of episodes over the years. Like there's the death of the author. There's
Yeah.
can you engage in a product or a service or a game and not be touched by the actions that you're taking?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. I mean, but realistically, historically, in if we do believe that games, and we do believe this about games, they have a really important impact on our lives and our community to educate, inform, counsel, direct, influence, illuminate, then this game has some negative consequences to its play and to its recognition in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, I'm really terribly disappointed that it's been added. Again, like it should be kept on Board Game Geek. It should still be there. It should be recognized for what it was. Again, mechanically a brilliant game and with a very problematic theme that encourages certain thoughts and problematic ideas. And let's just leave it as such. Again,
Yeah.
we're not calling for the destruction of it. We're not calling for the designer or the publisher or any bad whatsoever. But like, let's put it in the context in which it deserves, and let's move on from it and produce better things. 1897, the new edition that's coming out, the deluxe edition, looks great. And again, you have the same game mechanics, but again, it's in a proper situated way in which there isn't even a sliver, even a 0.0% negative vibe here of like, hey, it's kind of okay to slave other people. It's fine.
Right.
It's fine. It's fine, right? It's fine. You're like, no, it's not really fine.
Yeah.
So I think BGG really missed the boat here.
Yeah.
No pun intended here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, and that was a discussion that Tuesday for sure.
Mhm.
All right, next up on the list, we have a game that I found interesting as a selection, not in a bad way, but Memoir 44,
Sure.
from Days of Wonder and Richard Borg, based on the Command and Color system. This significantly simplified the Command and Color system, which was already like a simplification of historical wargaming in general, and made it into something extremely accessible, a game that you could play in 30 to 45 minutes. You could pick up and set up in very quickly. Came out in 2004 and has been around ever since. There's been dozens of expansions. There's a new Star Wars version that just came out last year. And this is considered by many to be the quintessential accessible war game.
Yes.
Because there are lots of war games. Many of them are very good. Richard Borg has designed several. But this one is one you can pull out and play with a family member and not have somebody's brain explode, right? It's a Days of Wonder game. It's designed to be accessible. And it did something previously unthinkable, making a war game both fast and simple, right, without losing the mechanical depth that you want. So Memoir 44.
Yeah, I mean, if wargaming is its own thing, and I mean that in a very positive way, that like they have developed their own games in their own community, and like the fact that they respect Memoir 44 as a war game says a lot.
Yeah,
because I met and played with war gamers, and they will tell you when they don't like a thing, and like how historically inaccurate and problematic and everything else there is with a particular game. And like the fact that this has respect for war gamers, that's certainly a thing. And again, like you said, Anthony, the game mechanic here, it's brilliant, and it's used in so many other games out there. And Richard Borg did a fantastic job with the Command and Colors kind of aspect to all of this. So,
yeah, no, it's really cool. Like the system is fantastic. Like I haven't played this with my children. I played the Star Wars version, but it's a similar idea of just like you have a limited amount of choices. It's really narrows the scope of the board. It narrows the scope of your choices. It narrows the scope of your hand. It makes it just so much more accessible and engaging. And I think that's, to me at least, that seems to be what a lot of this year's crop of Hall of Fame games are doing. Right? They're accessible and they are broaden the table in a lot of ways.
I wonder if just long term, or if there shouldn't be another list, or maybe this should be a metric that we go by, is how many other games or how many other successful games utilize a particular game mechanic by a designer. Because, like you said, you mentioned Star Wars, but there's a lot of other games that use that Command and Colors kind of system.
Oh yeah, no,
a lot.
It is funny that, like, not funny, but like it's interesting to see this game's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
This is not where the system started, right? It's just like a distillation of that.
Yes.
Where like the Command and Color system had been used, extensively across multiple other games for years.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can pull up a list of 88 games and expansions that do this. This is the one.
Yeah, I think certainly the World War II, time period is very interesting for a lot of people out there. Like that time period, that war, and that storming of the beach on D-Day, which is also, I think, one of their campaign expansions.
Yeah.
Has been a big thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is, it makes sense.
And also little plastic green soldiers like you used to play with as a kid.
Little army men.
Little army man, little army tanks. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Next up on the list, we have another small box game, another what we might consider a filler, the 16-card Love Letter.
There you go.
From 2012, Seiji Kanai. Love Letters come in a dozen different forms over the years in its own self, and then 50 different forms with IP slapped on top of it. It says, actually, they say 12 re-implementations here. Well, okay.
It feels like more than that.
Yeah.
I think
being hyperbolic, but it's that kind of game. Like, it hit and it maintained, and Z-Man's like, okay, we have an IP here that we can build on.
All right, you're saying that, but I'm looking at BGG, and they're saying there's 21 re-implementations.
All right, so I guess their little blurb here is undercounting.
Oh, boo! You guys check your own data, man.
I know. Yeah, but like the game is as simple as it gets. It's 16 cards. You play the card, you do the ability, and you're trying to capture the princess, right? So,
well, you're trying to knock out the other players. The princess is a large part of that. If you hold on to the princess at the end of the round, you win.
Right.
But you can knock out the other players in a lot of different ways. But as you said, you get 2 cards, you play 1 card, you get another card, you play 1 card. That's pretty much. Yeah, there's variations to that, sure.
Yeah, no, you can play this endlessly, and it's always interesting. And you can have conversations. You can eat a meal with it. It's like you're making a decision every time, but it's a binary decision, right, of what you want to do with that. And it just makes for just like a very clever, fun experience.
And it's part of the Tempest universe, which we have to remember.
Right. Yeah, that universe we forgot existed.
To be fair, they forgot too.
I mean, this is the only one that still exists, right? The rest of them are out of print.
It's a great game. I loved it. I don't think it's any longer in my top 100 because there's so many other great games, but it would certainly be in my top 200 just because it surprisingly does something so very well.
Mm-hmm.
And since there's 15 to 21 different versions of it, I'm sure you can find the version that's perfect for you. In fact, Will and I played the Cthulhu version from Asmodee, I think, I want to say 2 years ago. So, which I think is the second Cthulhu version of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sure. Love Letter. Love Letter is awesome, man.
Yeah, Love Letter is awesome. I'm happy with this one.
Yeah.
All right, last one on the list, the fifth inauguree for 2026 is Terraforming Mars. So, designed by Jacob Frixelius, Frix Games, Stronghold Games here in the U.S. This is a game we've talked about incessantly. Since it came out 10 years ago, by the way. This game's been out for almost 10 years. Oof, now I'm old. So it's a tableau builder in which you are colonizing the planet of Mars, and what makes it so unique is that there are semi-cooperative elements to it where you're actually doing the terraforming, but that's not how you win the game. You win the game by getting points, and that's how the game gets really long. So this is a game I fell in love with when it came out. Chris famously chasing down copies at Gen Con early in the morning.
First thing in the morning, people thought I was crazy. They were like, why would you get that game? I'm like, not only am I getting that game, I'm getting 2 copies of it.
Heck yeah, one for each of us.
Because we knew way back in the day this was going to be a thing.
I was the most popular person in my game group for like a month. And I played this game a lot. So it's remained in my top 100 since it came out. There's a whole bunch of expansions for it. Only one of them's really any good. So
Yes.
The Prelude expansion, everything else is, optional or avoidable.
Mm-hmm.
There is a dice version of the game. There is a reimplementation that's just cards with Ares Expedition. There's an RPG. There's books. There's, it's a whole little mini cinematic universe they're building. And there was some controversy with this one as well, though. So, Terraforming Mars game's been around for a while. Famously known for its terrible artwork. Recent versions, including expansions like Prelude 2, have been found to be using AI artwork, which is something that's been a hot button issue in a lot of fandoms lately. Like, a lot of people are like, don't do that. I'm one of them. So I think if you're going to produce a creative product, you should pay artists to produce artwork for it. And so there's been a lot of pushback on that. There's also just a lot of pushback around some of the individuals working for Frick's Games and their politics that have been publicly shared on social media. And that, that kind of comes back to the whole death of the author component that we talked about before. The game versus the authorship of that game, and how much do we want to support the person who owns the company producing this if we know that the things that they're espousing are not things that we agree with or that are important.
So we're talking very bad politics, not just like Republican, Democrat kind of public.
Oh yeah, no, we should be more specific. Transphobic, racist comments.
Even worse, yeah.
Yeah, hateful things. So
yeah. I mean, Terraforming Mars has had problems in spite of the game having, it's one of the most brilliant mechanical games of all time. The artwork, the AI, the production, the lack of value, how things have changed, and things have seemed to got worse, as you mentioned. Gone a very dark pathway. And again, for the community itself, they've reached out, they've talked to the designers and publishers, and have asked for, things to be better and for people to be better along the way there too. And it's a shame because, again, we are a better community than that. And Terraform Mars is one of the great ways to get people at the table together to dream about a better world. Happens to be a Mars, but it's a better world that we'll all terraform together. So anything that is, and Anthony didn't even mention some of the worst stuff of it, but like some of the incredibly problematic stuff of that just takes away from the beauty of what is a fantastic game. So again, I don't, BGG is clearly not drawing any particular lines here, so I'm sorry to see that, but I don't know if Terraforming Mars would necessarily be the line, but I think that's certainly that it should be discussed, because again, especially at the very least, even with just the AI alone, that's something I think that should be taken into consideration, because who are we as an industry? And I think that's something we need to ask ourselves. All of us need to ask ourselves.
Right. Yeah, and we should clarify, this particular game does not have AI in it. It's future expansions. Yeah, like this game came out 10 years ago. You buy a copy of Terraforming Mars now, it's got the same terrible stock photo artwork that it's always had.
Random photo art.
Yeah, like pictures of the designer and their brothers just kind of hanging out with weird costumes.
And stuff they pulled off the internet, let's be fair.
Yeah, just like, hey, we got like 400 cards in this game. We can't afford the artists. Let's just go hog on the
it was
stock
so
photo
weird.
site.
It was so weird because it wasn't a crowdfunding game that was published by the authors and designers.
Yeah.
It was published by Stronghold Games, a real game company.
Yeah.
That produced quality games. So it was weird that this game was not production-wise quality.
It's strange to me that 10 years later, now considered a Hall of Fame game, one of the top rated games on Board Game Geek.
Yeah.
You still get this weird, wonky, just low rent, nonsensical production, visual production of a game. they could afford to make it better. And like they have like the big box that they released, they did all like the upgrades and stuff, and you still get the weird old artwork. So
it's really weird. It's really odd, and there's nothing purposeful about it, like in a good way. Like, oh, it's nostalgic or this, that, or the other, or it's just like, nah. Like again, like Seven Wonders, they updated all their artwork. They made some corrections and changes, and they could have done that for a second edition of Terraforming Mars, but instead they did everything else but that.
Yeah, everything's plastic.
Board, big old a slip of paper.
Yeah. Well, you get the inset boards now with the
now
upgrades.
You get them. Yeah.
Yeah. But back in the day, though, oh man, bump that table. Everything's on the floor. So.
It's a bit of a thing, to say the least.
Yeah. So, anywho, all these games, they have a lot of background. They have a lot of baggage. They have a lot of things that come with them, and people are having these conversations. It's worth having the conversation of, why is the game in the Hall of Fame?
Sure.
What game should be in the Hall of Fame? It's an interesting conversation to have once a year.
Yeah, because it's a thing. I mean, these games continue on. We still play them. We still gather around them. We still recommend them. BGG certainly does recommend them. Their word means a lot. Their Hall of Fame means a lot for people who are coming into the industry, especially when they don't know what games they should play or why. So I think it's important for all of us to do the really cool geeky thing and, really drill down and like go, hey, but why is this a thing? Is this a thing? Is this a thing? This is a thing. Why is it a thing? It's a thing. Are we sure it's a thing? Because again, that's, as a community, that's what we're best at, is really examining deeply how and why a thing is a thing. I like to say.
Yeah, and like BGG is putting up, there's a video for each of these and there's short description. I really wish they would dig a little bit deeper, though. Like, sure. Let's have a fuller conversation, like what we're doing. Have us do it.
Yeah, again, because I love tabletop games. I mean, where I live is mostly tabletop games. Like, most of my physical space is tabletop based.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, you're not going to find, you're going to be hard pressed to find bigger advocates for tabletop gaming. We just want them to think a little more, drill down a little more, communicate, consult, and open up the discussion a little bit more, because it's fun and it's smart. And yeah, I can imagine somebody coming into the gaming field after maybe they get past a gateway game and then stumble across Puerto Rico and go, dear God, like, what are these gamers thinking and doing? And they're going to have a bad vibe about and a bad thought about all of us. And I'm just like, that's not cool, because we do great things and the industry is great and the publishers are great and the designers are great and the artists are great. And there's artisan work happening everywhere and the community is great. And I don't want certain things to be representative of us, whether it's really crazy comments or really problematic theming for games. Because we learned over time, it doesn't have to be. You can have your 1837. You could have your Sky Mines out there,
yeah,
and still enjoy the stuff. We want everyone to enjoy tabletop games as much as possible. We advocate for it all the time. We just want them to be so welcoming that you bring more and more people to the table, because in the end, let's be honest, we're about getting more games to the table. So,
right.
That's all. We have an agenda here, but it's a really positive one.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's like, you guys always have an agenda. I'm like, yeah, positive, help.
More games to the table, more players. Yeah. If we have more players, we could play more games. You know how hard it is to get a game group together for a game night? Right? Imagine if everybody was playing tabletop games.
That would be nonsense.
I would not have to keep this giant collection. You could have some of this giant collection so that we could all play together. I'm just saying.
Split it up. Let's split it up.
Jeez. I could have some room to move. It's getting tight in here.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Until next time, this is Chris.
Hey, this is Anthony.
And as always, we'll save all and each and every one of you a seat at the table. Please take care, everybody.
Bye.
Hi there, I'm Hugh from Poderation. If you like today's show, why not check out Dungeons and Dragonfruits, the bizarre, strange, and queer in every sense of the word D&D podcast. Join 5 friends as they laugh, learn, and adventure their way through the weird, wonderful world of Widdershins, where dragons hatch from trees and have adventures of all forms in every shape and size. Available wherever you can get your podcasts.